Welcome to the Whurthy Services training video series. This is Module 5, Advanced Whurthy Setup. In this fifth video, we're going to be looking at how you can be supported. We'll start by reviewing how the Whurthy Team supports you. This builds on the previous video where we explored and covered how you can receive requests for support for questions to be answered from your customers. So now we're going to look at it from your perspective, and we're going to review the support process, and then we will close out with a brief summary of support surveys. Whurthy Support is designed to support the capture of cause, conversation, and conclusion. So in the previous video, we explored the idea. We showed briefly how a customer can submit a request, and then they can add additional comments, and in turn, there could be a conversation. Now, ultimately, when you have a workflow system or a technology that offers that opportunity to capture the conversation, it's really going to come down to personal taste and style of communication. There will be some viewers who very much enjoy having that face-to-face contact, or maybe a telephone call, or maybe by email. So ultimately, we understand and recognize that Whurthy Support may or may not be something that you see a lot of customers even engaging with you with. However, what we wanted to do in this video is to really look at how you can use Whurthy Support to ask us questions about your experience with Whurthy Services. If there are any questions you have, maybe even any challenges, maybe supplementing the training, and also if you have any suggestions that may surface for you as you're using Whurthy Services, because we're always looking to improve this the Whurthy Services application. And the goal is that together then we can use Whurthy Support to improve everyone's experience. So let's jump into the staff experience. So as is always the case, when we're looking at an administrative feature, we look over to the right-hand Whurthy link sidebar. We scroll down to the bottom till we find the administration section, and then we look for the support dashboard link at the bottom of the page. We'll click on that. And now we're into the support dashboard. So we have already reviewed this. So what I really want to do is I want to focus here from your perspective, posing a question. So when you're logged in as a customer and you don't have a staff account, and you click on the support button in the top right, or if you click on the hamburger and you click on the support link, that will take you straight to being able to ask a question. And over on the right-hand side, we can see under Whurthy links here, there's that section, My Account, which we have touched on briefly. And we can see the second link here is My Support Request. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. So this would be where you are able to submit a question to the Whurthy team. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on the new support request button. So we've reviewed this. So again, it's not going to take much explanation. These categories are designed to be intuitive, but perhaps you had a technical support question, for example. The intention with this is that this is a way for you to let us know how urgent this particular request is. So if you're really struggling, or if you're hearing reports for whatever reason of challenges with being able to book, for example, and obviously that's the last one you would want, but every so often, technology will have little moments and there are bumps. But, the idea of the critical priority is really to cover those essential, really sort of urgent events that are happening. And we really hope that that's a rare event that critical is selected. That being said, significant impact or partial impact, much more likely to be selected. So with significant impact, that may come down to maybe a record's being deleted, or maybe something happened and you just don't understand and it's impacting tracking revenue, or it's impacting a service booking, for example. Partial impact is really where you've had a bit of a bump, but you've worked out how to work around it. And we would expect partial impact to be a priority where you're just letting us know, yeah, there's something that I'm not quite clear on. And so if you can help me. And then no impact, query only, we would expect really that those would come with, say, questions or suggestions, perhaps, maybe even suggestions where, you've got an idea, you've been using Whurthy Services, and an idea has come to mind where you thought, oh, what if Whurthy Services could do this? And we love to hear those kind of suggestions. And so that's where you might select. There's no impact, it's just a query and just want to get a sense. So hopefully this isn't too complicated, but it does allow the Whurthy team, when we receive these requests, just to get a sense of how urgent or what the priority you feel the request is. And we go then to the question field. So can you tell me more about closing or completing a support request? So we'll look at that. We'll look at that as a question. So that may be all that you put there, and then you click create support request. So we covered all that. Okay, so now this is where we need to shift from looking at the support request as a customer and now looking at it as a staff member. So hopefully this is not too confusing, but once you've issued the question, you then need to approach the request from the staff's perspective. So if you'll recall at the very beginning, if I go over to the right-hand side and scroll down to administration, I'm looking for support dashboard. And so now we can see the question we've just asked, and it's under the status of general request. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. If I clicked on it as a customer by looking through the customer view, I'll just have the option to mark keep open or end request and to add an additional comment, right? So this is where we have it working a little bit differently. And so now we can come into here, we can scroll down, we can update the request. And now, I mean, if I had additional information come to mind, that would be one thing. But here, this is where we're going to come down to the support ticket status. And now we can select technical support, for example. So in this case, when we reviewed in the previous video, we went from general request to request resolved. So just to clarify and repeat, when you are responding to questions from your customers, you're really only going to be working with a status of 1 and 4. When you want to escalate something to us, the person who's assigned responsibility to review these requests then would get this one. You put a note in the detailed description, for example, please pass this. If I just expand here, you might add that detailed description plan, saying to that person, please escalate it to the Whurthy team. Or if you are that person, then you would just come in and edit it, click on Whurthy Support, and then what you can do, escalating this to the Whurthy team. And so that really covers it. You can leave the tier 1 effort as 0, and I'm now going to click on update request. So now what would happen is one of the Whurthy team would be the person who has responsibility. So we would get the email now, and now we would be engaging with this. So now from the Whurthy support team's perspective, we'd come in here, we would look at this, we'd review what you'd entered, and then we would do any assessment. We might reach out to you, we might phone you, or we just may engage with some response or some questions in the answer, for example. Now, just to let you know, there's actually an extra field that we have that we use called general support comments. So just because some of these requests might be tricky, and so it's just a way for us to organize the different parts of information or the different aspects of how we're thinking, how we're determining cause, if there is an issue, if there's something that needs to be done. And so really what you would be concerned with is what appears in the answer question, in the answer field. So this is very much a collaborative experience between yourselves as a Whurthy client using Whurthy Services and us as the Whurthy team. Now, what will happen at this point is, in effect, we'll manage the request from this point on. And internally, it is possible that we might escalate it to our own expert technical support, so to the development team, for example, which is a classical approach that you may have had some experience with. And so really that's what we'll do, is we'll just be working with you to understand, okay, what's happening for you. If it's just a suggestion, it will likely be moved to request resolved. And that's where we'll let you know, for example, if the suggestion really strikes us as, a really excellent one, and that's one we'd like to get into the next release, then we'll let you know. If, however, we're not so certain and we need to do some thinking, but we like the idea, we'll let you know. And the idea is we'll just want to communicate with you in terms of just helping to set some healthy expectations. And also from the perspective of if there's a technical issue or there's some sort of training need, that the support request is where we'll be able to really unpack and just build some clarity around that. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to mark this as, I'll mark this here, here, this video highlights how support works. So what we might do here is paste in a link to this video, for example, or a relevant video that comes to mind. And so then you can click on that, watch it, and the expectation would be is it would at least get you started on getting clarity and in terms of what the answer to your question is. How would you use support, for example? And so then in that kind of situation, this is where we would likely mark the request as resolved. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And maybe I just spent 30 minutes on this. And I'm going to go ahead and update request. And so now it's moved into the request resolved. As the person who initiated the request, who submitted the request, the email you've got on your account now would receive that notification with the link. So you would be notified, oh, this is when they responded. So, oh, this is the response they gave us. And you may enter some additional comments, or you may mark the request as ended because you got the answer you were hoping for. And then we come into this idea of the question answered, and we'll just check here. And I want to show you two more things. So now we're into the answered requests here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the answered request link. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a deeper look at this support request. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom because even though we've marked this in effect as resolved, we get to see here now the support log. And so we can see this is when it was entered. We get to see this is when it was escalated. It shows us the sequence, how much effort time was entered. Whurthy Services is also tracking duration. So this is just providing us a sense of, and this is in obviously, hours as it were. And then it's showing who the responder was, and then that it was marked resolved. And then when it moves to being marked as a request, it's now tracking each of the tiers, and it's giving us that little note at the bottom that the request has been closed. And so the whole point of this is that this allows us over time as the Whurthy team to build a baseline of understanding of how rapidly, how quickly, how well are we doing in terms of time at responding to your requests, because that's important to us. And one more thing to show you, because then if I go back, so when we look at the support dashboard and we're in the completed or the completed requests, we'll see that survey response. So the idea here is that whereas tracking effort and duration helps the Whurthy team to understand timeliness, the survey is really designed for us to understand the quality of our response from your experience. And so our goal, our objective is to deliver the best quality we possibly can. And it's a simple survey, it's just a thumbs up, neutral, thumbs down. I mean, we reviewed it in the previous video. It's not complicated, but we just wanted to let you know that those are two core measurements or metrics around Whurthy support, and our intention to be committed to delivering the best possible service that we can. And our experience, our belief is that it's very challenging to manage what you don't measure. And so the idea of tracking time, effort, and duration, and tracking quality through a brief survey would just provide us that opportunity to get a sense, okay, so how clear are we? What was your experience? How satisfied are you with that support experience? So we look forward to you making the best of this. And if you have some stories, for example, of how using the Whurthy support feature, with your customers help to generate business even. I mean, that would be wonderful to hear. But the main intention with Whurthy support really is about supporting you as our Whurthy client. Whurthy, value made easy.